It was circa 1961, 14 years after Indian independence, when the state of Goa was liberated from the Portuguese and joined to be a part of independent India. The annexation resulted in a fleet of luxury cars from Goa going up for sale in the country. This caught the attention of the Maharaja of Travancore in the southern province of present-day Kerala. The king appointed his private secretary P.V. Thampi and a well-known engineer in the local community known as Kunnath Ayat Balakrishna Menon to find him a car that would add to his royalty and status. They both set off to Goa to choose from a range of European and American vehicles, but after a few days of searching, they found no car that was deemed fit to be presented to the king. It was a disappointing journey for both of them as they were returning empty-handed. But Menon wasn't willing to give up so easily on the quest to find a car for the Maharaja. So he came up with an idea and began sketching the silhouette of a car on a paper. He told Thampi that if they cannot find a car, he'll build one himself for the king. Perplexed by the idea of Menon, Thampi thought that the engineer was being ridiculous at first, but after thoughtful consideration decided to give it a go and presented the idea to the king. When they returned to Thiruvananthapuram, Menon worked on the design, preparing a detailed sketch and presentation for the king. Menon had no prior design experience, but he was a skilled engineer. His sketch was a combination of all the design elements of cars of that era, striking a perfect chord of balance between form and function. Menon proposed that he could make the car a reality if the king would be willing to lend his 1939 model Cadillac Fleetwood limousine that was lying in his garage as a donor car. The king was taken aback but gave the car to Menon to work on only under one condition. If the king didn't like the final product, Menon would have to pay for the Cadillac and bear the cost of building the car. Menon agreed and started working on the car with 6 of his skilled workers at his workshop as assistants. He didn't have any machines or any mechanized equipments but worked on the car with bare hands. Funds were running dry, but he was committed to do the job. He was the subject of ridicule that compared him to Henry Ford, even called crazy by many. Menon couldn't care less as he was hell-bent on completing the car for the king. Working tirelessly for more than 10 months, the car was built and ready to be showcased by Menon on May 1965. It was named the Arvind Palace Special. When Menon drove the car to the palace, the king was amazed to see his car completely transformed by the engineer. He showered praises on Menon for his skills and ingenuity as the press covered the launch of the event. The car was a true work of art with clean lines and proportions and resembled the design language prevalent in European and American cars of the era. Menon's fame had now reached foreign shores and even the Automobile International magazine wrote stories on him. Menon's love for cars went way back when he was just 16 years of age. He was one of the first men in India who could repair American sedans with sophisticated engines. Several years passed and he now ran a famous workshop named Prompt Motors. Soon he began expanding the business and was juggling between 3 workshops as work came pouring in. Once in 1954, while covering a 5-hour journey from Kottayam to his hometown Trivandrum, he crashed his Studebaker Champion into a tree. The car was totaled and he landed in hospital for 3 months. The workshops unfortunately had to shut down as a result. Once Menon had come out of recovery, he promptly went back to work. The first thing that came to his mind after recovery was to begin another workshop and rebuild the car. He sketched the shape of the vehicle to his taste and assembled his workers to work on the vehicle. Menon decided to use a Mercedes-Benz W120 diesel engine capable of producing around 46 horsepower. After a few months of labor, the car was reborn in 1955. It was way ahead of its time in terms of its design. Menon named the vehicle Arvind Eddy Champion, where Eddy means to punch in Malayalam or accident in automotive jargon, marking his and his car's survival from the accident. Thus, the Eddy Champion became the first ever prototype Menon built, and his workshop was established as Arvind Automobiles a year later in 1956. The positive reception to the second prototype, the Palace Special, encouraged Menon to build a third prototype in 1966 named the Model 3. and he wanted to produce it for the masses. Menon came up with the idea of a four-door sedan, and he wanted it to be an everyday car. Back then, there was no definitive design language like there is today, but Menon was a true visionary of his time. He took inspiration from the American and Soviet classics from that era and started working on the project. The engine was borrowed from a 1964 Fiat 1100D, one of the first Fiats to be built in India. Powering the Model 3 was Fiat's 1.1-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine. The gearbox, engine, and rear differential were carried over from the donor car. The prototype used Fiat's monocoque chassis as the base. The rest of the bodywork, such as the fenders, doors, bonnet, dash, and several other parts, were built in-house. The grille and headlamp were inspired from American sedans like Cadillac from the 60s. The Irvine monogram on the tip of the bonnet was sand-casted and poured in with molten brass. The car had hints of chrome to it, which added to its classic character. The bodywork was done by Menon and his workers, hand-beaten and shaped into perfect symmetry. The front and rear overhangs were long to give it a distinct classic American look. The car was a work of engineering marvel and was known to be the first indigenously built car in India. Menon decided to respond to a tender put out by the government for a small car project. He had applied for an industrial license and put forth his prototype. He asked the government to support him in setting up a factory where the Model 3 would roll out from the production floor. It would help create jobs, and he would be able to price the model for as low as 5,000 rupees at the time. He was even willing to offer a part of the company to the government. The government denied his proposal and rejected his application for a license. Instead, the license was given to Maruti Motors, established by the Government of India. Bureaucracy had stifled innovation, and visionaries like Menon were certainly rare. But a small roadblock didn't stop Menon from dreaming big, and he knew that he had to take small steps to reach there. He eventually acquired an exclusive production license for his venture and was awarded the contract to build the car. Menon's hard work and perseverance had paid off, and his dream was finally coming to fruition. In 1966, when the Model 3 prototype was launched, Menon built basic tin cans with Triumph motorcycle engines, validating the fact that he had no previous experience, design competence, or foresight. Yet he showcased his ingenuity and talent by building a car from his small garage. He wanted to show India's hidden potential in the manufacturing sector. "Yes, we can, and here I have," he said. Menon wanted to build a factory that gave jobs to people and something more priceless than that. He wanted to restore India's pride and dignity, which was lost for centuries since the British rule. But unfortunately, as fate had different plans, on 4th July 1971, before the Model 3 could come into production, Menon succumbed to a heart attack in his hometown in Trivandrum. The future of Irvine Automobiles lied in a limbo, its purpose incomplete without its master. His successor and wife, Kartikeni Menon, gave away the company to the workers as a cooperative society, as she couldn't compensate them. The workers ran Irvine Automobiles for 8 more years until the company was liquidated and its doors were closed forever. The car was the only thing left behind. While his successors planned to revive the brand again 50 years after his demise, K.A. Balakrishna Menon would be remembered as a self-taught engineer who was driven by passion despite lacking the technological prowess of established manufacturers. At a time when few in the country had any idea about chassis, vehicle dynamics, or fabrication, he built the first Indian car with just a handful of workers at his disposal. Only time will tell if history remembers Menon and Irvine Automobiles in all their glory. But what will always remain is his legacy as a pioneer who was way ahead of his time.